Hey, this is Sidan, coach of Destiny 6, and we are back for the Pokemon Draft League. Um, I know the last time we did it, this was the PAC Season 1, and at the end of that, I did say I was gonna have about a 6 month break. I also said that I don't think I'd be invited back into the PAC, but um, yeah, it looks like we are back with doing the PAC-GMax League. So it's one of their side leagues. Um, and I know it's been about 8.5 months since I last since that last video. So I've had an 8.5 month break as opposed to 6. But regardless, we're back. Hopefully we can do well in this league. Uh, yeah, so I don't want to get too into it, but let's I don't want to digress too much, but let's just get into this draft analysis. So the way it works is that there is 5 tiers, uh, and we get to choose one from each tier except for the middle tiers where we get to choose two. Uh, there's a uh, there's a 6th tier which is the G-Max tier, and that yeah. So there's the G-Max tier and 4 free tiers which use up a budget of 400. Now the cost of the G-Max varies depending on which one you get. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So, without further ado, to set the stage, I was the first pick. So I was the front wheel, or the head of the draft pick. Yeah, draft picks. And so obviously it's a good place. I personally want it to be towards the end just because it's been a while since I've done these, and I wanted to kind of gauge on what kind of picks my the rest of the coaches were gonna make. But unfortunately, yeah, I was first, so I couldn't get gauge any. But I'm not gonna complain. Obviously, it's a good position. uh Now, my first pick, I was choosing between two of uh it was between G-Max Cinderace and the one I ultimately picked. G-Max Cinderace obviously has been really good for me. I believe I have a 100% win rate with G-Max Cinderace. So that was yeah. So that was a big how to say factor in deciding. But I did want to try out some other Pokemons, or some other G-Max Pokemons, and I actually literally flipped a coin for this, and I ended up uh, taking G-Max Rillaboom. Uh, yeah, so G-Max Rillaboom was obviously, I think Rillaboom itself, I think is just a really good Pokemon. The Grassy Surge, it's very powerful with high attack stats, with a strong priority move in Grassy Glide. Obviously, the Grassy Glide's only priority with grassy terrains on, but on top of that, it's a great knockoff user, and it has pivoting options with U-turn. The coverage, I think, is okay. It's adequate. It doesn't have, I think, a wide range of coverage as Cinderace, but I think it just works anyway for Rillaboom. Yeah, so that is my first pick. I don't want to go too long with this draft analysis. Uh, with my second pick, it's going to be Also, as the draft went on, I there was two Pokemons I really wanted to pair with Rillaboom, and one of them was Heatran. But that got picked on the second round, or I got to pick. The other Pokemon I thought I wanted, I thought could wait a little bit later. I don't think it was going to be that popular to, or at least I didn't think it would come around real soon. So I decided to pick something else instead. So my next pick is, or it could be Swiftwish the third pick because I get two in a row. But my next Pokemon is Clefable. Um, I don't know if you've ever followed me before. But on my journey through Pokemon Draft Leagues, but Clefable has grown to be one of my favorite Pokemons to draft. After I drafted once, and can't even remember when I drafted it, which was the first one I drafted in. But yeah, I always thought, I used to think Clefable was a little bit overrated, but ever since I've drafted it, it's been such a great Pokemon to have. I think it's easily my go-to fairy Pokemon if I ever get to in draft leagues. So yeah, Clefable. The fact that it was still open, I had to take it. um, that's kind of my opinion. I had to take it. Yeah. So there's not much to say. It's a stealth rocker. It's knockoff user. It's got good support moves. It's a healer in terms of it has wish, aromatherapy. It can self-sustain through self-boil. Has a large move pool. And honestly, I mostly use it defensively, but I have in times used it as an offensive Pokemon, and it still works. So I like the flexibility Clefable gives to the team. So yeah, no surprise, I'm gonna pick Clefable. Uh, Alongside with Clefable, I also picked Zygarde 10. Uh, Now obviously with G-Max Rillaboom, there's gonna be grassy terrain, and I'm not the best with terrain. I'm not the best with like board effects in general. So weather and screens is another thing I'm not the best with. I know how to deal with them, and I know how to utilize and counter them theoretically, but practice is not something I'm great at. So I wanted a ground type Pokemon that didn't rely so heavily on Earthquake. Um, I did look at other ground types which has the ability to use high horsepower. Uh, but I did ultimately go with Zygarde 10. I think Zygarde 10 is just the 1,000 arrows is useful with its smackdown effect. I think it just gives my team just that boost of speed. With it being it's gonna be my fastest Pokemon I draft. Its move pool is a little bit lacking, but really, I think all it needs is the like three moves really: 1,000 arrows, outrage, and extreme speed for the priority. And I think the rest could just be filled with the fourth move could just be whatever you need the situation to be. So I don't think there's much. I have heard of like twist specs sets with Zygarde 10, which well, it sounds interesting. I can't really see it, but it was worth a try if I find the opportunity to. But yeah, that I just went with Zygarde 10 just because I think I needed the a good ground type. It is a bit frail, but I do like a bulkier ground type. But you know, you can't say, well, yeah, I can't say I can get everything from a Pokemon. So, when it came to my fourth pick, I was ready to pick the other Pokemon I wanted to pair with Rillaboom. right just before literally the person right before me ended up picking it. And that Pokemon I wanted was Magnezone. Um, yeah, so he picked it just right before me, so it fell onto my backup Pokemon, and so yeah, so the Pokemon I picked was Tentacle. I think Tentacle's an interesting Pokemon. I've never really drafted Tentacle before. Uh, it but looking at its stats, it's got that high special defense, a pretty good speed, like 100 base speed is really fast. Um, its offense is a little bit lacking, but as a defensive, like bulky water type, I don't think that's the biggest like that's not the main concern for me, having like good special like good offensive skills. Its HP lacks a little bit and its defense, but hopefully I can work around it. Uh, it's just a useful Pokemon. It's a rapid spinner. It has toxic spikes. It can absorb toxic spikes. Also, it has knockoff, which is like another. It's just useful to have. It's just a useful move to have. I think it also has. I think there's the other item removing move it can use, acid spray or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, I could use that as well. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know. I've never used Tentacle before. This is gonna be interesting, but I think Tentacle fits my team pretty well. So that's why I drafted it. For my fifth pick, I going with Mesprit. Yeah, so I chose Mesprit because at this time also, even though it was kind of a backup pick to Magnezone, I noticed that a lot of the other coaches have used up most of their budget. And they are starting to. There was only one other that was kind of in the same position as I. With a lot of budget left. So at this point, I was thinking, there's obviously the lower point, lower tiered Pokemons were going to start coming off the board really soon. So I think I needed to pick the ones that I wanted before they become unavailable. So Mesprit is like I think a strong, bulky psychic type. I especially wanted Mesprit because well, if the idea is that if I got Magnezone, I would be really pressed in getting another Stealth Rocker. Generally, I like my Steel and Ground types to have Stealth Rocks, because those are probably the most common types to do. My Ground type doesn't have Stealth Rocks. If I had Magnezone doesn't have Stealth Rocks, so I need another Stealth Rocker. The Mesprit provides that. Mesprit also actually is a healer in a sense, a healing wish, which is I think a great move. It's a pivot. You can pivot. It has I think it has knockoff. I'm not 100% sure. I actually don't think it does. But I think it's just a good Pokemon. Defensively, I've used it before on a defensive role. But I know it does have great offensive capabilities, especially since it can learn Nasty Plot. So it's something I'm hoping I can utilize. Yeah. Given that my team so far, I was pretty happy, but this is kind of with Magnezone gone, I was kind of like a little bit lost on what I wanted out of my team. And I really didn't know what to do. So I kind of panicked in these kind of next picks, and which kind of informed how I picked later on in the draft. Because I wanted Magnezone so much. For my number 6 pick, I went for well, Magneton. Magneton obviously is it's not Magnezone obviously, and defensively it's not as great as Magnezone, but it does have that good um special attack, 120 space special attack. I think it has the highest special attack of all my Pokemons I've drafted. I think, and it's got a reasonable speed. In terms of what it is, I'm not considering it my steel type. Let's get that out of the way. I'm not hoping for it to replace Magnuson as a steel type on my team. I think I just need something more bulkier than Magneton, but it is going to be my electric type. I think I know that at this point, Corviknight and G-Max Corviknight were drafted, so the magnet tool from Magneton could be very useful. But I think just having a good electric type in the back is going to be useful. Especially, I think there is also like Pokemon like G-Max Lapras that were drafted, so that can be useful against that. Yeah, Magneton, I think it's just kind of a panic pick in that I wanted Magneton, but sorry, Magnezone, but I think I can work with Magneton. Yeah. For my next pick, again, I was in this kind of panic state. I wanted to get a good like a defogger, but then I needed something that was like had reasonably good stats. And literally I looked at, but I needed also a low tiered Pokemon. I looked at literally the first Pokemon down that list I saw that kind of fits that bill. I could have gone down further in the list and see if there was any better, but like I said, I just chose the first one. I have drafted Aracuna. Now I don't think Aracuna is terrible. It's just I've never used it. It's got that 4 times weak to rock, so it's very susceptible to rock type moves. Which is not too bad at the moment because I looking at if you look at the team, it's my only rock weak Pokemon. It has Defog. It's got that really good special defense. It has Freeze Dry. Has a priority move in Ice Shard. But I think also it's just that its ability pressure is really great. The Snow Cloak ability is, I think, a banned ability in this league, so I'm always going to have to be pressure anyway. And I think because of its large special defense, I think it'll make a great just pivot Pokemon because it also can learn U-turn. So even though it was like a panic pick, I don't regret picking Aracuna. I just don't know what I could do with it yet, just because I've never used it before, and yeah, I didn't put too much thought. I only picked it because A, it has reasonably good stats, and B, there's Defog. So that was my reasoning. Now for my next 4 picks. Now I have a large amount of my budget left, and literally, actually, I saw that pretty much everyone except one other team have used up most of their budget. However, I'm looking at my team. There's 3 Pokemons. I haven't chosen my B tier Pokemon, and I can use my budget to get 2 extra B tiers. So literally, I was looking at I get 3 Pokemons that are pretty much locked in. I can get. Now one of them was actually Moltres. However, trying to fill that last the 60 points left after the 3 B tiers was difficult. I could not find a good D tier Pokemon to fill out my team. However, I did see a 4th B tier Pokemon that could be useful, and so I decided not to go with Moltres and chose a substitute for Moltres in the D tier. So my next Pokemon is Charizard. Um, Now, obviously, like I said, I wanted Moltres, but Charizard to me was like a good alternative. Not, I think, obviously Moltres' stats are more rounded. It's actually better, I think, in all stats except speed. But Charizard, I think, is just a useful Pokemon. It does give me another defogger that Moltres was going to provide. But I think where Moltres lacks, I think, is that the move pool, where Charizard has just an exceptional move pool. So I am looking forward to using Charizard. But yeah, I chose Charizard out of necessity to round out my team, as opposed to wanting it. But I do plan to just use Charizard to the fullest. So we'll see how it goes. It does have yeah, so like I said, large move pool. It does have some setup moves, Sword Dance and Dragon Dance. So I could see it as a good offensive threat I can provide to my opponent's team. But yeah, at this point, the next three Pokemons, I could have selected them in any order, honestly, because at this point, no one could snipe me. Everyone chose their B tier already, and they didn't have enough points to, yeah. So my next pick was Obstagoon. Obstagoon was one of the other Pokemon I really wanted. I wanted a knockoff user that was actually Dark type, and I think Obstagoon is just a Pokemon I think is very powerful. I've always wanted to. I think I have drafted it before, but I didn't utilize it well, so I wanted to better try to utilize it. I think when I drafted Obstagoon, it was like when it first came out, and I was trying to experiment with it as opposed to trying to do the obvious like builds with it. So yeah, hopefully I could do better with Obstagoon. But yeah, Obstagoon is just, I think, just a powerful Pokemon. It does tons of damage, especially when its Guts is activated. It also, I can use it as like a deterrent for Defog, or Parting Shot. I think they are. I think I don't think Pangoro has been drafted, but I know Alolan Persian has. So yeah, a Parting Shot deterrent. Mainly Defog, obviously, because Parting Shot's a rare move. But Obstagoon itself can learn Parting Shot. Yeah, so it's I think it's just a strong Pokemon to have. And its unique typing means that it's immune and can deal massive damage to ghost types, which it's just something I don't usually have, like ghost resists and ghost defensive ghost counters to offensive ghost Pokemon is something I usually don't have. So Obstagoon is just a great pick to have. Yeah, so for my next pick, I went with Cobalion. That is my actual steel type that I wanted to have. I have drafted Cobalion before, but I think it was in a league that kind of like got defunct like halfway through. Yeah, I think Cobalion is just a well-rounded Pokemon. Yes, that special defense is not that great, but I do have some good special defensive Pokemons out there. It is a steel type with Stuff Rock, so I do end up having a lot of more Stuff Rock users than I intended, but that's fine. There's more options. Yeah, so it's I think a great Pokemon. It's a useful setup sweeper. I think it's just could be a useful defensive Pokemon that can pivot out with its Volt Switch. Yeah, so there's not much to say. I don't know whether it's would be a knockoff deterrent because of Justified, but I'm not sure. I don't think that's a thing with Cavalion, but yeah, um, could be. I'm not sure though. Uh, yeah. So these are the Pokemon I thought I was gonna have. Like regardless, if just imagine Charizard was Moltres. But with that said, like I saw a lot of weaknesses in my team, especially in terms of some types, particularly fire, fairy, fighting. These are like types that I was really going to struggle with. Um, and there was no single Pokemon that could really resist all those Pokemons, except one in the B tier. And so my last Pokemon was going to is Silvally. Uh, Silvalia obviously is because of its ability, it can change types. Um, and I believe it is also because the memories can't be knocked off. So it's just a good Pokemon that probably if I want to come in on a knockoff and take reduced damage without while preserving, my team's item. It's got actually a pretty good move pool. It's a pivoter. It's another defogger. So it gives me another defog option. Uh, yeah, like I said, it has a good move pool. The multi attack is a very powerful move, which I think would be a great offensive asset on my team. Its stats, obviously, that I believe it's 95 for every stat except speed, which is 90. I'm trying to remember correctly. Yeah, so it's got a well balanced. It's a very balanced stat distribution. Yeah, and obviously it's got some well, actually no, I think I said enough. I think I said everything I wanted about Valley. Um yeah, so that's my full team. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to trying to play with this team. I'm a little bit nervous because it's been 9.5 months, so 8.5 months since, and it will be a little bit just under 9 when I have my first match. So yeah, let's see how it goes. In terms of how many draft leagues I'll be doing in the future, I think from now on moving forward, I'm only going to be doing one at a time. I'm not going to do more than one. So yeah. So this is gonna be the draft league that you'll see. I think there'll be a few circumstances where I might do two, and that's usually if like maybe the overlap between the matches are just like 1 or 2 weeks at most. But yeah, it's gonna be one league at a time, and so yeah, we will be doing the PAC-GMax league. So hopefully you enjoyed. Myself, I will be continuing to upload videos for this league. At the same time, if I think there's a lot of others in this league that are doing the same thing, I'll have a link to all their channels in the description below. This is not a upload required league, so I'll link any that I see. Yeah, I'll link any. I'll link their channels if they have one. If there's any other draft analysis videos out there, I will also put it in the description that I see. So with that said, my first week will be against Vancouver Hatinas, and so we'll see how we go for first ever match in a long time. But with that said, I hope you guys have a great day and see ya.